Balitang National. Good morning, Pilipinas, and welcome to another edition of Balitang National. For this video, allow me to use English and Tagalog as our medium of instruction. Kayo po ay nagbabalik sa isang episode naman ng rational expressions, specifically on subtraction of rational expressions. Meron po tayong dalawang rational expression dito, and we are going to subtract the equivalent of both. We have 3m plus n all over mn minus m plus 3 all over 3m. Notice po na yung rational expressions natin ay kagaya po, or they behave like our fractions. And just like our fractions, we cannot automatically subtract them if our fractions are dissimilar. We are going to examine the similarity of fractions, or in this case, similarity of rational expressions, by looking at our denominators. The denominator of our first rational expression is mn, and yung pangalawa is 3m. So basically, they are not the same, and the rational expressions doesn't have similar denominators, and would tell us that they are dissimilar rational expressions. This is the same thing when we have 1 6 minus 1 8. We cannot automatically say 0 yung sa taas kasi nga 1 minus 1, and sa baba, whatever will be the result. Kasi nga po, we have dissimilar denominators, or these two fractions are dissimilar. What we did before is we look for the LCD of the two fractions in order for us to operate them later. But whenever whenever we apply LCD, we also need to make sure that our fractions will be transformed into equivalent fractions using the same LCD. The LCD here po, you can try 48. That's 6 times 8. But it's too large po kasi nga po may isa pang number mas least sa kanila, or lesser than 48. We can do that by looking to the relationship of 6 being 2 times 3, and our 8 is 2 times 4. So we already have 2 here, and we also have 2 here. So our LCD can be actually one of the two, okay, times 3 and times 4. When we multiply 2 times 3 times 4, we will get a result of 24. It is actually lower than 48. And with that, we can even use a simpler process here. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to multiply the denominators, but that's one strategy that you could use in order for us to get LCD. So same thing here po sa ating given dito. We just need to look at the possibility of the factors of our denominator. We have mn on our first denominator here. So it's a product of m and n. Our second denominator is 3m. That's a product of 3 and m. M occurred in both denominators. So you only have to use 1m. The LCD here is when you multiply the coefficient of 3, 1m, and then the variable n. We don't need to use 3m squared by multiplying 2m here and together with n, 3m squared n, because we are talking about the least common denominator. That's the process of our LCD whenever we have variables as well. So yung mangyayari po natin dito is we're going to look now at the numerators, the proper numerators. But it's not 3m plus n automatically minus m plus 3, just like here. We cannot again use here 1 minus 1 kahit na po nag-LCD tayo. What we need to do here is the concept of equivalent fractions. We can do that like this. We divide the entire LCD by 6. So again, this is 24. Divide by 6. We have the multiplier of 4. And that is the multiplier of the original numerator 1. If we're going to multiply 4 and 1, that's 4 over 24. In simplest form, that's 1/6. This is actually the equivalent fraction of 1/6. Now, we're going to do it the same to the second. Let's say this is 7, just for the purpose of discussion. So we have here 24 divided by 8 is 3. That's the multiplier of your 7. And of course, don't forget the operation being minus here. So these are the things that we need to consider as well when we talk about this rational expressions here. Because when we divide 3mn by mn, we have a multiplier of 3 that should be multiplied to 3m plus n. It's not just 3m plus n alone. There is a multiplier of 3 so as to we are going to have equivalent rational expressions. Because if you're going to examine this, you can divide this and you will just return to the original given, 3m plus n over mn. Same thing will go to the second. 3mn divided by 3m, you have a multiplier of n to your m plus 3. Again, this is its equivalent rational expression. If you're going to cancel that, looking at this alone, removing this in the first place in your mind, you will return to m plus 3 over 3m. But what's lacking here is this idea, the operation of subtraction po. Now that we are done with equivalent rational expressions using the concept of LCD, let us now multiply our numerators. We have here 3 here. 3 times 3m is 9m. That's m. Plus 3 times n, you have 3n. Okay? Next, you have minus n times m, you have your m n. Okay? So that's negative. This is also the reason why we also need to enclose this in parentheses. Kasi pag di po natin ilalagay dito, and you will just assume that it's like that, 3 is not multiplied by n, and it's very wrong na po. So yung mangyayari dito, you're also going to distribute the negative n here. So negative times positive is negative. You have 3n. Again, that's negative 3n all over your expression of your denominator, 3m n. Again, we distribute 3 times 3m, 9m, 3 times n is 3n. Here, distribute including the negative sign, minus mn, and you will have a minus 3n. You can combine your numerator because we have here positive 3n and minus 3n. You can cancel the 2. You will get here a result of 9m minus mn over 3mn. Now, this is now the difference of our two rational expressions. So we have combined them into one expression. But before we declare that this is the final answer, notice that in our numerator, we can still factor out m. Right? Common monomial factoring. When we factor m, you will have 9 here and minus n. Why do we factor this? Because when we examine our denominator, there is something that be cancelled out. Always remember na pag rational expressions po, just like fractions, we need to make sure that our answers are expressed in its simplest form. And with that, we can cancel this m here and this m. But we cannot do this, okay? Nor 9 divided by 3, we cannot do that. It's because 9 and n on our numerator are separated by a subtraction. We cannot cancel them out. You will have the final result of 9 minus n all over 3n. Again, you cannot do that nor this because our numerator is a binomial expression. In short, the more simplified answer for the difference of our given would be 9 minus n all over 3n. Lester Lou Sigumpan, nagbabalita for Balitang Rational. Huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe, i-like at i-share ang video ito. Maraming salamat!